Hey YouTube, this is Captain John with Bass Flats and Beyond. I'm a fishing charter guide out here in South Florida. I cover everything from bass to billfish, whether it be freshwater trips in Lake Okeechobee, snook fishing trips around Jupiter or Stewart, or offshore trips, anywhere from Stewart Inlet down to Palm Beach Inlet. We got you covered. The reason I'm making this video today is not to talk about fishing at all. It's to talk about one of the most important things that you can have on your boat that doesn't really get talked about at all, at least not on YouTube, and that is medical kits, first aid kits. So there's a lot of them on the market. You can buy a pre-made kit like this, or you can make your own. I would say for the vast majority of people, you're better off buying a kit like this, especially if you can find them on sale. Actually, I just recently picked this kit up. West Marine was having a sale, 50% off. I think I paid $46 for this kit, and it's a good kit. This is the offshore medical emergency kit. What comes in this kit are 3/4 inch by 3 inch adhesive bandages, 40 of them, 2 by 3 heavy adhesive bandages, 5 of them, 2 inch by 5 yard gauze rolls. There's 2 of those. They're pretty small. 4 by 4 4x4s, 4 3x3 gauze pads, knuckle bandages, fingertip bandages, a 5x9 heavy trauma pad, a triangular bandage, a little bit of adhesive tape, some sunscreen, motion sickness tablets, aspirin tablets, insect sting relief wipes, alcohol wipes, scissors, plastic tweezers, cold packs, CPR and shock module, which is like a face mask and a space blanket and stuff like that. Severe burn module, so some burn cream and things like that. Eye wash, gloves, a little first aid instruction guide, and some sterile eye pads. Okay, so there's a lot of good stuff in this kit, and buying a kit like this saves you a little bit of money than trying to piece it all together. Now there's some stuff that I think are must-haves that aren't in this kit that I threw in this kit, and we're going to talk about some of that kind of stuff. The other option is just to build your own. We're going to talk about a few things like how to store your kits to keep water out of it, and why you need to have it. But I need to preface this video by saying that I am not a professional. I'm not EMT or anything like that. I have had training. I've had some medical training and stuff like that, so I know how to use everything in this kit. But everything we go over that's in any of these kits is going to be useless to you if you don't get training. So that's the first thing we need to talk about, is get training. The second thing I'm going to tell you is I'm not going to tell you how to use any of this equipment or anything like that, because that's not my lane. I'm not a first aid instructor or anything like that. So again, we're going to go back to get training. What I'm going to tell you is some stuff that I think you should have, some must-haves, mandatory things to have, as well as things that are nice to have if space permits in your particular boat or your tackle box if you're a shore fisherman or whatever. So we're going to open this kit up, since I recently kind of went through this whole kit in the house and set it up kind of with the stuff I think that we need to have in here. So it's pretty full in here. Aspirin is one of those things that's nice to have. Eye wash, some of those things it's nice to have. These gauze rolls here are kind of small, but the space is in there, so I kept them. You're better off with something like, especially if space is a problem, something like this H&H Compressed Gauze. The other thing we have are 2 packs of gloves, and I like how these came in a little Ziploc bag. A little bit of tape, nice. You need more than this. This is not really enough for more than some boo-boos, but I'm going to show you some of the stuff I added to kind of cover these. So a triangular bandage, these are great. You can use these to make a sling. You can use these to make a tourniquet. You can use these for all sorts of things. These are awesome, and they don't take up a lot of space. Motion sickness pills, good to have. They're not really going to help you as a charter captain if you have a client who gets seasick, because really you need to take these before you even get on the boat. Take them in the morning before you even show up. But if it's a really long trip and they got seasick really early into it and they want to try to tough it out, I'll give them some of these, and hopefully that that takes care of it. So we're going to go into the must-haves now before we go over everything. So one of the must-haves is a Sharpie. Believe it or not, a Sharpie. The reason why the Sharpie is the must-have is if you have to put a tourniquet on somebody, you need to be able to note the time. If somebody's taken any medications, you need to be able to write that down so the first responders can see that stuff and maybe not give them anything that's going to have an adverse reaction to the medication that they're on. There's all kinds of reasons why you should have a Sharpie. I can't list every single reason, but it doesn't take up a lot of space. Throw a Sharpie in your kit. Two of the things that I think are must-haves that didn't come in this kit that I put in here is some kind of splint. I like these SAM splints. They can be used for all kinds of things. If you need to double it up and make an arm splint or a leg splint, you can do that. You can also make a neck brace out of these. There's a whole bunch of good instructional videos if you just search for SAM splint in YouTube that they can tell you how to use these. Another thing that didn't come in this kit that I like to have is this 3M vet wrap. You can get them in whatever color you want. I just like bright orange because it's super easy to see. This kind of replaces these little gauze rolls or even the bigger gauze rolls. It's not going to absorb blood. So that's one thing it doesn't do, but one thing it's absolutely great for is securing bandages like these 4x4, like a 4x4 or something like that, or 3x3, or this SAM splint. Or if you had to make a pressure dressing with these gauze pads or this compressed gauze, you can use this. It's similar to an H bandage except that it clings to itself. I wish I had an open one here to show you, but it's pretty simple. It just clings to itself, so you don't have to worry about tying a knot or it coming loose. When you put this on there, it stays. It's very good stuff, and this I have in all of my kits. So 3x3s, 4x4s. There's a few of these in these kits. These are good to have. You can use them to cover a wound. You can use them to absorb blood and hold direct pressure if someone's bleeding a lot. The other thing that's really good to have are these trauma pads. These are thicker and more absorbent than like the typical 4x4. So again, good for making a pressure dressing or something out of, holding direct pressure, anything like that. Burn treatment. This is one of those things that's really good to have. I have never had someone get burned to the point where I needed to bust into one of these, but you never know, things happen, and so I keep them on board. Cold packs, another thing like that. You just shake the contents in the bottom of the bag, squeeze to break it, and keep shaking it up, and you can have some cold pads. More gauze. Another must-have: alcohol wipes, cleansing wipes. Purell's also another good thing to have, just in case, for obvious reasons. You need to keep everything clean and help avoid infection. These will fall. Oh, okay, here we go. Here's another one that's a must-have, are these little iPads. Now, you don't have to have these iPads. You can make something out of a 3x3 as long as you have scissors or something. But I've seen crazy stuff happen. I've never had to bust into these, thank God. But I have seen people take hooks to the face before, and if they take one to the eye, it's not something I'm going to try to treat on the boat. I'm going to just try to secure it as best I can, cover it as best I can, and make sure that it doesn't move or get any worse. And we're heading back in. I'll be on the phone as soon as I get some cell phone service, or on the radio as soon as someone can call me, and have an ambulance waiting for me where I got to drop them off. So you're just going to open this up, cover the eye, use some tape or vet wrap or whatever you have to secure it, especially if it's like something like a lure, like a rapala or something like that that's hanging off their face. If it's just hanging off the skin on the face and you don't want to try to pull it out, you can take the hook off the lure with using the split ring. But if it's in the eye, don't try to do that. Let a doctor do that. The best thing you can do is cover it, keep it from moving, especially if it's a rough day out. You don't want that to get any worse until you get back. So that's about as far into that as we're going to go. This kit came with a ton of Band-Aids. I mean, Band-Aids for days. You don't need all these Band-Aids in a kit. I think the reason they put all these Band-Aids in a kit is because they assume that that's probably what's going to get used the most. And people probably aren't going to restock it. But seriously, if you use more than this many Band-Aids, this is 5 Band-Aids in the sleeve. If you use more than this many Band-Aids on a single trip, you are wrong. You need to stop fishing and maybe go take up golf. More motion sickness tablets. These bigger Band-Aids, again, you shouldn't need this many, but it's nice to have. They threw them all in there, so yay for that. Finger bandages and all kinds of Band-Aids. That's the thing about most of these pre-made kits that you're going to find. They're mostly boo-boo kits. They're mostly stuff that honestly you could probably get away. You could probably just ignore it. You know, put a little bit of pressure on it until it stops bleeding, and that's it. And then pretty much ignore it and go about your day. I'm more concerned with the stuff that will kill you before EMS can get there. So I'm more concerned with being able to stop major bleeding, hemorrhages, hypothermia, controlling head injuries. So that's like the neck brace and stuff, try to stabilize the spine, things like that. The boo-boo kits, because I'm a guide and boo-boos happen, I need to have this stuff just to keep it a little bit more comfortable on the trip. So that's why I keep all of these bandages in here, because I'll run 5 days a week guiding people, and people can be clumsy sometimes. So you don't need this many Band-Aids, and if you are running out of space, you can probably get away with a few less of these. We have some insect sting relief pads. They work okay, especially for things like jellyfish stings or bee stings, stuff like that that can happen. And now we're down to the bottom of the kit with the last 2 things, and these 2 I consider must-haves in any kit. Combat gauze or some sort of hemostatic agent. I like combat gauze. I got really lucky and picked up a whole bunch of these for 25 bucks each of these little packs. These things normally cost like $60, $75, so they are a little expensive. And you can use something like this compressed gauze, H&H compressed gauze, to do the same kind of thing. It just doesn't really work as well. So if you're on a budget, if you're on a huge budget and you can't swing, like if you can't find this for cheap, like 25 bucks is really cheap for this pack of gauze, or you can't afford it like at the full price, throw some of this compressed gauze in your pack. That's why this is on the outside of the kit and this is on the inside of the kit. This is better, but this can work. The reason for this is if somebody has massive bleeding that we need to control, but we maybe don't want to throw a tourniquet on it. So just a couple situations of how something like this can happen just on your daily fishing trip is say you're offshore on the big boat behind me and you're cutting bait, and you know, you're not paying attention because you're looking down at what you're doing, and your hand slips, your knife hand slips, and you stab the hell out of yourself, and now you're bleeding profusely. It's one of those, oh my God, that's a lot of blood situations. You can take this combat gauze and put it as tightly into the wound as you can. Something like a penetrating wound, like say you actually stabbed yourself and the knife went through, you will actually want to pack this down in there. We're getting into the realm of how-tos, and I'm not going to go over that again. Like I said, I'm not a professional, but combat gauze, compressed gauze, something to pack a wound, something that can stop bleeding, very important. You should have that. The other thing that you should have, some sort of CPR kit. I don't really feel like opening this one up for you right here because I like everything sterile, but it's basically just a CPR mask, a space blanket, and some extra gloves are in this kit. That's what it says here on the kit. So I consider it a must-have because I take a lot of people fishing that I don't know. So I like the CPR mask. Keeps, you know, their germs on them and my germs on me. If you're just take out your family, really close friends, and you have no problem doing mouth-to-mouth and rescue breaths on them, you can probably get away without this. But for me, this is a must-have. Tweezers, really good. Kids get a splinter. Even pulling fishing hooks out of people as long as they're not all the way in past the barb. Good to have, so yay for that. There's something in this kit that's missing that is a absolute must-have, and that's a tourniquet. And I mean a real tourniquet. I'm not talking about an improvised tourniquet like taking a triangular bandage or something like that, taking your belt off or whatever to make a tourniquet out of. And that is because I carry it in my pocket. So this is what I carry in my pocket every day when I'm wearing shorts. This is I'll open this up for you and show you. This is a soft T wide tourniquet, windlass tourniquet, really good stuff. Another pack of combat gauze, some trauma shears, and must have lost the gloves. There are usually a pack of gloves like this in here, so good thing I'm doing this video now. I can put some more gloves in here. I don't even remember what I use those for. That's interesting. But little mini trauma shears. These shears actually came in this kit. I took them out and threw them in here in this little pack because they were better than the rusted up, boogered up ones I had. These kind of suck. I'm not gonna lie if you have to cut through heavy clothing or anything like that, but some shears are better than those shears. This is another kit that I keep on me every day. There's a few more stuff. There's a dedicated H&H pressure dressing in here, and some really good high quality trauma shears. These trauma shears fall into the must-have category. You always need to have these. So the reason they're not in this kit is because they're in this, which stays with me all the time. This is a really neat kit. I really like this kit, and I pretty much have it on me whenever I can. I can throw this tourniquet kit that I just took apart for you into here when I need to. There's a little empty space where it goes. But basically what this is, you can wrap this around your ankle and carry it when you go around town. I've had this one for about a year. When you are wearing shorts or anything like that, you can just roll it up like this and throw it in a cargo pocket or something like that, or keep it in various places around you. So this is always nearby if it's not actually on my person. Something like this is always on my person, and I'm gonna go grab some more gloves, but I'll use these for now. So all you do is you take your combat gauze. Again, you can use compressed gauze if you can't afford the combat gauze, because the combat gauze and the tourniquet alone makes this about $100, but you know, what's your life worth to you, right? So I just fold up the combat gauze a little bit and then take these gloves and these little mini shears and tuck them in here like this. Tuck them in with the handle against it so that the shears don't accidentally open the package. And then there's videos on YouTube of how to do this, but basically you just take a soft T wide and you flat fold it. So just fold it up just like that, nice and flat. And you put it together and you rubber band it. And I use 2 rubber bands because you can get away with one, but I don't want this moving around on me or anything like that. So I use 2 rubber bands to hold everything in place. Maybe that's how I'm missing the gloves. Maybe I need 3 rubber bands. We'll find out, but there you go. And then that you can just throw in a cargo pocket or the back pocket of your blue jeans or whatever. This can go everywhere with you. It's about the size of an iPhone, maybe 2 iPhones stacked on top of each other with thickness. But it's a great option. This goes with me every day. So there's always at least 1 tourniquet, and if I need more than 1 tourniquet, I can improvise them. But you shouldn't have an improvised tourniquet as your primary tourniquet. You want something that's dedicated for the job. So I'm gonna go ahead and repackage all this stuff. Go ahead and throw an extra pair of gloves in here just to make sure I have them. And we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about some ways of storing all this stuff and keeping it dry. So I'll be back in just a second. Okay, so I got a little break from the rain now. I'm gonna try to wrap this video up real quick. We're gonna talk about storage. So this box is not waterproof. I don't know if you can see really well, but that gap in there between the O-ring and the top of the box, there is an O-ring seal, as you can see here, to try to keep this waterproof. but these latches don't squish it down tight enough to really make this really waterproof. So what I do, and I'm not gonna do it here because I'm in the shop, it's really hot and it's really humid, is I take a little bit of saran wrap and go around the edges just one time. Don't do it a lot, you need to be able to get in here quickly. I do this inside. I do this all in my house under air conditioning where the air is a little bit drier, so condensation doesn't build up during the day. Another option that works, and I use this on my bigger boat where storage space isn't that much of an issue, is these ammo cans. You can see this one's in bright orange, and it makes it really easy to identify. And in here, you know, I've got your typical boo-boo kit, Sam Splint, compressed gauze, some hemostatic gauze, and then another, I should do this in another video. This is a tourniquet and some gauze and some tape and some gloves. It's essentially the cheaper version of this kit that I showed you earlier. I have like 10 of these that I made up to just throw them in the car, and I throw these everywhere. But yeah, this does the same thing. This is just some cheap Z-fold. You can actually buy this as a kit now on Amazon for like 26 bucks. It's called the Patrol Officer Trauma Kit. Take it out of the pack, rewrap it like this, and it'll save you even more space. But it's just a SWAT tourniquet, just a big stretchy bicycle inner tube type of a tourniquet. Some Z-folded gauze, there's some duct tape and some gloves in there. So you can use this to make a chest seal, you can use this to make a pressure dressing, you can have a tourniquet if you need to apply one. These tourniquets are horrible for trying to apply them to yourself, like on your own arm or something. But if you have somebody with you, they're great for that. They also work pretty well when they're wet. They're not as good as a windlass tourniquet, but they're cheap, and you know, if money's a thing, I understand that. So make up a few of these, toss them all over the place, because you know, even if you have a good kit like this, these are still worth having, because you can, you know, make up like 5 or 10 of these for the cost of what it would take you to put together something like this, and you can have these tossed all over the place. Toss one in your truck, toss one in your boat, like in your glove box or somewhere easy to reach. Toss them, give them to your kids, put them in your kids' backpack, whatever. So that works. So yeah, anyway, back to the ammo can. This thing is great because you can put all kinds of good stuff in it, and you've got lots of room. It's also very strong. It won't get crushed. And on the lid, there's an O-ring. The problem with it is it has the same issue that this kit does. The O-ring, it is better because this latch actually pulls down on the lid and actually puts some pressure in here, but this is not truly waterproof. So if you really need to make this waterproof, especially if it's going to be something that's going to be kind of taught, you're just going to put this together because you saw this video and then toss it in your boat and forget about it. You should do the same thing with the saran wrap around the edges of this, just to really try to keep the moisture out. It's pretty good, especially if you open this up enough like I do to get band-aids and stuff like that, and you are constantly inspecting what's inside and making sure all your stuff's in good condition, then you can probably get away without doing the saran wrap. But if you're going to toss it somewhere and leave it there, just put like one wrap of saran wrap around the edge, and you can take it off pretty quick, and that's a good way to go. Now this is probably one of the better ways you can store a first aid kit. This doesn't have any, this is not a first aid kit for me. This is what I use, this is my boat box. This is what I keep my, you know, my Merchant Mariner credentials and registration and all my licenses and stuff like that, commercial permits, insurance documents, stuff like that. But this is legit waterproof. The only reason I haven't used more of these to make a first aid kit is they're not deep enough. I want to find one that's significantly deeper so that I can throw all of the goodies in here. But what's great about these Plano boxes, this is a 3700 series deep waterproof stowaway box. This one still has the sticker on it because I haven't taken it off. What's great about these is that it's a very strong box. It's reinforced here, which takes away from some of the internal volume, but it has a legit O-ring, and then it's latched on 3 sides to really squeeze that O-ring into place. I'm trying to get this on camera so you can see it, but you can see that when you snap that in there, it's actually compressing the O-ring against the seal, and you don't need a latch on the back because that's where the hinges are. So so it's compressed all the way around, and this is legit waterproof. You can probably make this work for your own first aid kit if you need to, especially if you're not going to build it as much as I am, but that SAM splint takes up a lot of space in one of these, and I can't make the SAM splint fit, and the SAM splint to me is one of those things that I have to have because I can use it for all kinds of stuff like we talked about earlier in the video. So you could make this work. This is an option, especially if you can find a deeper option, you know, something like that with that much depth to it, and then you can really load it up with what you need. I will probably be replacing everything with these Plano boxes in the future. But this was just a brief overview of some equipment that you should have in your boat and some ways of storing it. So again, I'm not a professional. If you are a medical professional, EMT, fire rescue, paramedic, or anything like that, and you think I did something glaringly wrong, please contact me, tell me about it. I'm always trying to learn. If you have real world experience and you can tell me that there's something that's in this kit that's completely unnecessary, or something I need to have, or I'm just doing it wrong, and you have legit real world experience, please tell me. I'd love to hear it. I'm always trying to learn. But as far as the medical side goes, that's pretty much a wrap. Again, I stress this in the beginning of the video, I'm going to stress it at the end of the video. None of this is going to do you any good if you don't know how to use it, so get training. Dark Angel Medical has a bunch of, they travel around, do a lot of training classes. That's a really good company to work with. Your basic first aid CPR class is a great start, but that's not going to tell you how to use half of what's in this kit. So get real medical training, like TECC or something like that. The other thing that I want to just leave you with is make sure if you're booking a trip with a guide, make sure he has something like this and he knows how to use it. There's a lot of what we call in South Florida Craigslist captains, where you know they have a boat, they may have a Coast Guard captain's license, maybe, and so they think they're good to go and start running trips. But it's more of a hobby for them, more of a way for them to try to make back a little bit of what they spent on all their stuff. It's not a living. They're not true professionals. And one of the signs that you're going with a true professional captain is a captain that is prepared for anything. That's not just prepared to put you on the fish. That's the important part. That's what we all want to see. That's the sexy part. That's the part that sells charters. But making sure that your safety is the most important thing on the water. So making sure that your captain is prepared, not only has the equipment, but knows how to use it, has the training. Just ask for, you know, a certificate of completion from some reputable company that does training. Something a little higher than a Red Cross certification would be great. So that's all I'm going to leave you with. If you'd like to book a charter, my name's John Larson. You can find me at bassflatsandbeyond.com. All the information you're going to need is on there. And tight lines, guys. Good luck on the water.